Hello and welcome back to my channel. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today. For the first time ever, I have a special guest. This is Dom from the channel DabbingDom. We're going to be doing a kind of collaborative discussion. The first half is going to be on my channel and the second half is going to be on his. So if you want to see the epic conclusion to our discussion, please go check him out. He does reviews of things for the first time. So say hi.
Hi, how's it going?
So, the movie that we watched together for the first time was Ex Machina, which is a movie that's a couple years old that centers mainly around the ideas of technology and AI. Ava is a robot who supposedly passed the Turing test, a test that is given to artificial intelligence to determine whether they are a true artificial intelligence. Caleb is our main character, who was randomly selected to go and test Ava to see if she passed the Turing test. We also have Nathan, Ava's mysterious and very, very rich creator. So, first impressions of the movie, I really, really loved how it opened onto basically silence. It was fantastic that it really grabbed you, brought you in, and introduced you to the idea of technology. That was something I thought was super duper creative in the movie.
Yeah, I did too. I thought that was great. Like the whole opening sequence with him at his computer and he's in a big contest or something and they really knew how to build up the suspense, especially in the first 15 minutes and then going to that I don't know, it's isolated house or whatever that the guy stayed at. That was pretty cool too.
It's the perfect environment for something to go wrong, which they give you right off the bat with that deep bassy music as well. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, and how isolated they were on that helicopter ride for
2 hours?
Yeah, 2 hours. Oh yeah, he said it was 2 hours. I forgot about that. But yeah, 2 hours of land, nobody's around. You knew something.
I can't even imagine how big that is.
Yeah, me neither. Especially, I live in Rhode Island, so you can go from one end of the state to the other in 40 minutes. So.
And I thought that introducing Nathan was really interesting as well. He seems like a guy that's totally carefree, but there's definitely hints even from the very beginning that he's an alcoholic, he's got some demons, he's got some problems. Or yeah, Nathan, I thought I said Caleb for a second.
Oh no, yeah, Nathan. Yeah, you can definitely tell that he has some issues. And why was he selected? Because as the story goes on, you can see that he wasn't necessarily randomly selected. He was definitely chosen for this project. And
right.
Yeah, and
you
oh, go ahead.
You kind of see that in the beginning too, when they have the overlay of the technology scanning his face. It's something you don't really notice in the beginning, but as it goes on, you're like, wow, it was actually scanning him to choose him.
Yeah, that was crazy when they revealed that. I couldn't even believe that. It completely blew by me, but yeah, it just shows another aspect of technology that's, beyond, my thoughts.
And that's totally something that is very likely already happening. Nathan was in charge of the main search engine of the movie. I can't really remember what it was called. Blue Book or something?
Yeah, Blue Book, yeah. Or something
and
like that.
it just kind of shows you that, this is probably already happening, People are always talking about how their phones are listening into them, and it's very likely the phones are watching us as well. This isn't a distant future kind of thing. This is happening kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. Especially I wonder how many I wonder if they're doing that on Snapchat already, with the face filters and stuff like that.
Oh, definitely. There's no way they're not. It would be completely strange if they weren't, right? They've got to be storing your face data somewhere.
Yeah, they got to have a huge database of every Snapchat user. They have all my embarrassing photos, which is fine with me, but
we sound kind of like crazy conspiracy theorists. Everyone's watching you all the time.
That's because we are. No.
So, in the movie, Caleb is introduced to Ava after signing a non-disclosure agreement, with Nathan telling him that if you don't do this, you're gonna miss out on being a part of history. And it's pretty clear that something not quite right is going on. You can tell because, they're in a super secret underground bunker. Nathan is trying to get all chummy with Caleb, and he makes him sign this NDA. And that right off the bat sets off another wave of huge red flags that's like, what is actually going on here? But he signs it anyway, and he meets Ava, an artificial intelligence in the form of a female robot. And he does sort of a first round of tests with her, asking her basic questions, asking her about herself, and just learning a little bit about what a robot is. And that kind of brings me to my first little discussion-y question thing. What would you ask a robot to try and determine if it was an artificial intelligence?
I would say, are you artificial intelligence? No. I don't even know.
It might be that easy.
It could be that easy, but I doubt it, especially in this movie. It was impossible to figure it out in that question.
And Ava was definitely capable of lying, because you see throughout the movie that she does.
Oh yeah, her brain capabilities were insane. I mean, that was some top-notch technology. I mean,
oh, definitely.
I mean, yeah, that was like beyond anything I could think of, because when when I'm seeing it on screen, I'm like, oh, okay, like, yeah, like it's a robot, it talks, it can process thoughts. But then when you like really get into it, it's like, can you imagine programming something like that? Something that can think and have, it's just crazy.
I can't even imagine how much work it would be. Nathan is very obviously a genius. And they make a lot of like metaphors throughout the movie that he is a god, and the full phrase is Deus ex machina, God from the machine. So there's a lot of like parallels to religion and Caleb being a god and creating Ava in a human image, even though, like, is that the most efficient form for a robot to be in? Probably not. But I thought it was just interesting how many religious parallels there were as well.
Oh yeah, I completely agree, and I think that's right too. I didn't think that was right for her to be in the form she was in. Like it seems like it was a step too far. I mean, I know what he was trying to do, but it seemed like a little bit too far for me, especially I guess that's why it was so top secret at first, because they wouldn't want to release something like that to the public. So you know what I mean? Like, I can't think of the right word right now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course. It was like insanely advanced. That would definitely freak some people out. And spoilers ahead for the movie. I mean, we're discussing everything here, but
we should have mentioned that.
I'll put a big old spoiler sign at the beginning or something. But at the end of the movie, when she's surrounded by people, she is literally indistinguishable from them. So creating something that could so easily blend in with people might freak people out a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also like it's an ethical question too. Because, now that she has, she can rationally think, and it's like, well, would other people like that, like if there were other artificial intelligence, or if there were other, species of animals or something that could rationally think like that, they should be held to the same standards as humans, or should they not? Or like what is the line that, like, where do you draw that line? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get it. And people often justify, like in robot media and artificial intelligence media, they often justify like abusing robots because they're not sentient. But if Ava was an AI, does that count as being sentient? That's what passing the Turing test is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So even like having her do housework without pay or anything would be probably considered a human rights violation.
Yeah,
she's a robot.
It would totally be unethical if, like, if she did pass the Turing test, and if she was considered, actual AI. But yeah, it's really crazy.
It does bring up also like a point right now. We use robots for a lot of technological stuff, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
They're not sentient because they don't have to be. So is creating sentience in a robot really all that necessary, or is it just like Nathan was doing, sort of like a playing God kind of thing?
Oh yeah, that does bring into question that, like, was it actually necessary for him to do this?
Right? It seems like it's just making technology for technology's sake, because besides being so much smarter than a human, what is Ava for?
Yeah, exactly. Wow, I did not even think of that. You're bringing up some good questions here. Wow. That was a whole side of this I didn't even think of. That's crazy. Wow, like why was
I
she
guess,
even made in the first place? I'm over here thinking
right?
like, is it ethical to keep her captured like this? That's a good question. Wow.
Obviously, from Ava's point of view, it's not ethical to hold her captive because she wants to be free. But there's just so many confusing things about technology. Does she actually want anything? Because she's a robot,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Is like she even considered technology at that point? Like I don't it's just so crazy. I don't it really boggles my mind. I don't
It really does feel like she's a person, and that kind of reminds me of, oh gosh, what was her name? Was it Kyoko, the other robot?
I
The
believe
the
that was her
maid?
name. Yeah. I think so.
I think it was Kyoko. It's like, at that point, Kyoko was definitely not sentient. She was a robot, right? But she still somehow rebelled against her programming and helped fight against Nathan. So it begs the question whether or not Kyoko holds any sentience, or whether she was just reprogrammed by Ava as well.
I'm not sure because yeah, you're right because maybe she played that off like she wasn't sentient and then when he created Ava, she was obviously more intelligent than
Mm-hmm.
than Kyoko was because she was able to manipulate people's minds where actually maybe Kyoko was manipulating his mind and then he created Ava or
Right?
yeah that
Because
it's crazy.
Kyoko shows Caleb that she's a robot. He doesn't ask her to or anything. She, of her own volition, sort of like peels off her outer layer of skin and shows him. So it made me think, is Kyoko sentient and just beat down by Nathan? Because she had an important role in the story despite not saying anything and not being a quote unquote sentient AI.
Right, right. Wow.
And the video footage, it's like, were these other AIs sentient as well? But they just completely collapsed upon themselves and Nathan had to start over. How many times has he made a new person and then just decided to like lobotomize it?
Yeah, right. And like that's like the ethical question here and wow, like it's just really crazy to see, how many times did he create, other AI to try and get that perfect match because he didn't think that the other ones were, either perfect or actually like to his liking, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, maybe he was just trying to reprogram them because he saw that they were, have creating minds of their own. Or you know what I mean.
Creating minds of their own. That's so cool.
Yeah, but really, like, I mean, when you look at Ava, like, the whole time you're looking at her, you're like, oh yeah, she's, I guess she's sentient, but it's like, she still has a creator. She's still, locked up. But then by
Right?
the end of the
It
movie, you're
definitely.
like, oh wow, she was actually the one in control this whole time.
That was such a crazy twist. I do feel kind of bad for Caleb. He didn't do anything wrong and he got locked away
I
forever.
hated Caleb for like, wait, not Caleb, Nathan. Yeah, I felt bad for Caleb. But Nathan, I hated Nathan for like the whole movie until like the very end, and then I was like, oh my god, he was right this whole time, and I was wrong.
I mean, he was so well written. It was insane. Like, you're wary of him, and then you kind of like him, and then you kind of feel bad for him, and then you realize that he's like this giant manipulator, and then, he dies. Not necessarily a redeemed character, He wasn't a good guy. But at the same time, it's like, yes, he hurt Caleb. But did he hurt Ava? Can she feel that? Obviously, she wanted to leave, but is it any different than me not letting my Roomba walk out the front door,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think Nathan is a really, really well written character. I think like it's crazy how yeah, like I thought he was like the bad guy, if you will, the entire film. And then at the end when you find out that oh my god, he was right and there's so many clues along the way, like he is a step ahead of the game the entire movie. And it's like why wouldn't you think he would be a step ahead of Caleb? And he was. And Caleb didn't have the mind to see that she was manipulated. But
Right? It was like the perfect environment for the whole thing too. Like Nathan could control every single thing about Caleb's experience.
Yeah, that's true. He was like playing the godlike figure, and then she came in, and now she's pretty much playing the godlike figure. At the end of the movie, she was controlling everything. She killed like God, if you will, in Nathan, and locked Caleb up and went into the world on her own, which is, I was looking at my coworkers kind of weird the next day, but like, are you? Do you know Nathan?
Do you think we'll ever actually get to the point where there's realistic human AI just walking around?
Maybe realistic, but I mean, the mind is so complex. I don't know if they'll ever be able to create something. I'm sure they will one day. I don't know if in the near future, but at the rate technology's, advancing now, it's more than ever in human history. So anything's possible because, I didn't think I could, get glasses and a mustache on Snapchat, but now I can. So you never know. Right? Yeah.
Even something like augmented reality was ridiculous a couple years ago, and now it's just like Snapchat filters on everything.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's like, and then like a year ago, it's augmented reality, and now I go to the supermarket and there's a robot going down the aisle. Do you have
those robots?
Yeah, I have those robots here. It's a little robot called Wally at every Stop and Shop, and it can pick up like items that are dropped on the ground, so it can radios over the intercom and says like clean up on aisle 12. Like, it's pretty creepy, but
that's so cute.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had things like that. That's amazing.
Oh, we do, and every time I'm there, I hear old ladies complaining about it every time. Every single time.
They're gonna be the ones that outlive us all.
Oh, that's true.
They know what's up.
They're warning us now.
You know something about... Whoa, sorry, I just clapped directly into the mic.
Oh, don't worry.
You know something that's really great about Ex Machina is every time there's like robot media, people are so mean to robots. They're like really abusive and no one's really ever nice to them. But I love my Roomba. Like, I love it so much. And I always say thank you to Alexa after she answers my questions. It's like, people get so attached to things that aren't human, that aren't sentient, that I think this whole everybody sucks towards robots mentality is just kind of unrealistic in a way. So I thought it was really interesting to see Caleb actually growing to like Ava, actually treating her like he liked her,
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of futuristic robot media really neglects.
Yeah, you're so right. It's so negative towards anything like robotic right now.
Right?
It's like the minute you hear about like, oh, there's a human like robot being made, or like I saw a video on YouTube of, I forgot the robot's name, but all the comments are like, oh my god, like this is ridiculous. Like the world's ending. The robots are taking over.
Everyone's always insulting that robot Sophia on Twitter. They're always
That's the
so
one.
mean
That's
to
the
her.
one. Sophia. Yes. Oh, I couldn't think of it. There we go.
I'm like, she's cataloging everything. She's gonna come for us.
Oh, that's it. She's just gonna, her arms, like she's gonna have like miniguns for arms. She's just gonna come at everybody. She has everybody's address in her database. She knows what you look like because she's got the Snapchat filter database in her memory.
Exactly.
Like, and then here we go. Here comes Sophia.
I think even just stuff like movies and video games, like Detroit Became Human, that came out in 2017. Did you see anything about that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was almost like a Telltale game, but they had really, really realistic human robots, and everyone just kind of treats them like slaves. And I'm like, I don't know, that feels really off to just how people actually behave around, little robots. People like them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, like I like it. Like I do say thank you to Alexa whenever I add, something onto my shopping cart or what have you. But yeah, I totally agree.
So, I guess we've kind of discussed most of the plot of the movie. I feel a little bad for not going into it in depth enough, because the movie is really good. If you haven't seen the movie, audience, you have to watch
Yeah,
it. It's a must-see
I've been
movie.
wanting to see this movie for so long, and I put it off for so long. And everybody kept telling me, "You need to watch Ex Machina." And then when you said you wanted to watch it, I was like, "Yes, yes." Like because I almost sat down to watch it the other day, like a week before you mentioned that, and I was like, "Yes, finally." And boy, I'm
I
so glad I
just
did. That was such a great movie.
It was so good. It was scarier than I was expecting, but there were so many fantastic moments of like sound editing. I'm such a sound nerd. It was so unsettling. Like that bass they just have running
Oh
throughout.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that is super unsettling. The whole movie is super unsettling. Like the set.
oh, I
We already
know.
talked about the setting, but just the setting and like underground and everything about that.
Right?
It's
I
almost
cannot
it's like a new world. Like she was entering a new world, and like this is
right?
where she was. It's kind of like humans entering a new world. Like that's exactly what it looked like. Completely unoccupied, undeveloped.
Right, and like the story is told from the perspective of Caleb, right? But it's a story about Eva. Eva's the protagonist. She's the one that goes through all this growth and change as a person, quote unquote.
Watch your
But
language, no?
I'm sorry, she'll come get me. She's a person, I swear, she's a person. But I thought it was just so interesting how it was her story despite being told from Caleb, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's an element of like the story being about Nathan too, because like the whole movie you're led to believe that like Nathan is what he's doing is wrong, or maybe he doesn't know exactly like what he's doing, or maybe he's oppressive towards Ava. And then when Caleb steps in and is like, I'm gonna try and save you, Nathan's like, dude, this was the whole point of the test. Like what are you
Mm-hmm.
doing? And I think it goes to show you just how flawed man is, like in big decisions like this, because I feel like if Nathan was the godlike figure, Caleb was definitely the human, and he stepped in trying to play the role of God, and he got get bit in the butt for it. Kind of shot himself in the
Yeah,
foot.
yeah. I didn't even think about it like that. That Nathan kind of, again, back to the whole biblical thing, Caleb kind of committed that original sin kind of thing. He defied Nathan, the god, and things went poorly for him. He suffered the consequences of it, even though he thought he was doing something good, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Like he didn't know, all the information about it, but then again, it's like I don't know why.
Was Nathan actually doing a good thing at all, though?
Yeah, that's the big question, and that's a question I did not think of prior to this talk. Like you brought that up. That's the first time I'm thinking of this. Like, oh, like I'm like all on Nathan's side right now, and then when you said that, I'm like, oh crap. You know what? Maybe he just this wasn't a good thing to begin with.
Right? It feels like at so many different points this went wrong. Because very clearly it went wrong in the past, you know? There's that scene where Caleb is going through the videos and he sees all of the different versions of the robots freaking out, destroying themselves. So it's like, obviously Nathan is trying to go towards this goal, which could arguably be seen as a noble goal, right? The creation of AI, the furthering of technology. Arguably a good thing, right?
Oh yeah.
But he sacrificed a lot of possibly sentient beings along the way.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's just because it was out of his control, and he knew it was out of his control, and that's why he had to bring Caleb in, because he wanted to just see how this would act, you know what I mean, in front of an actual
Right.
human besides Nathan, because Nathan was the only other human that they've seen.
Right, and Eva even says that how does it feel knowing that something you created hates you? So she couldn't really enact her plan or prove her sentience to Nathan because she has these hatred feelings for him, so she won't cooperate with his tests or anything. So he's got to bring in someone from the outside.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. And I think that's bringing back to like a biblical reference. I feel like a lot of people say that as well, like like I hate God because of things that he's done to me. And maybe she's playing that same kind of role where she doesn't fully understand what's going on. She just knows that Nathan created her, and she doesn't like anything Nathan's done. So maybe
Right.
it's like, oh, like just like anybody that believes in God, it's like they don't know everything about God, because that's, it's obviously mysterious, And
Mhm.
a lot of people say, oh, I hate God because of things that have happened in their life, but they don't fully understand either. And I think that's kind of what she was doing, was not fully understanding Nathan. But then again, Nathan doesn't give her a whole lot to understand. Yeah.
Right. I definitely get what you're saying, and that's just a super interesting idea that Nathan was possibly, you know, protecting her from the outside world, because Ava charges up in her little box, but where's she gonna do that outside? Is she just gonna run out of power and die?
Ah, that's true.
What if she gets hurt? What if she needs a replaceable part? What is she gonna do?
So did she charge
So,
up in her room?
yeah, you know that little stool that she would sit on?
Yeah.
That was how she would charge up, and it was also how she was causing the blackouts. She'd touch it and send the electricity back to the generator, overloading it for a few minutes.
So what is she gonna do now that she's in the real world?
Exactly. Where's she gonna get her charge? Where's she gonna, replace her parts? What if her wig comes off and everyone's like, wow, it's a robot?
Wow.
It seems like having a sort of human intermediary would be important in that situation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And if the world found out that what the very first sentient AI did was kill two people, that's not a good first look. That's bad PR.
Yeah, thank God Nathan has, an empire so that nobody will manage to find them. But
That's so
it's gonna be like
horrible.
one of
That's
those.
such an awful thought.
It's gonna be like one of those things, like you know how they find like those pharaohs' tombs in Egypt that nobody's uncovered for years. That's what it's gonna be like. It's like, oh, we found
definitely.
the tomb of Blue Book or whatever it was called.
I think there might be a purpose to designing AI to be aesthetically pleasing, right? Because he designed her to be pretty. And I think there might be a purpose to something like that, to make it more palatable for people. Because I think if I saw like a Terminator AI versus a beautiful actress lady AI, I might be a little more scared of the Terminator.
What do you mean? I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. But
I mean, Arnold was the pretty actor in question.
Oh, exactly. But no, I totally agree, and I think back to a point that you brought up earlier. You know how you were saying that there's such like a negative light in the media for robots, and I think that's because most of them, they don't look like humans, and
Right?
this is like
They have that like uncanny valley plastic face thing going on.
yeah, even like that Sophia robot that you brought up. Even her, I mean, she looks human, but you can obviously tell she's not, and it's even more creepy when you see a human face on her and her mouth just moving like an animatronic doll at Disney World. You know what I mean?
I totally get that. Oh my god.
Like Ava was extremely human-like, down to everything. And I feel like Sophia is not. So when people saw that, they're like, "Oh, this is like, it's like."
Hopefully, they're still working on it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Or maybe not. I mean, I don't know.
Depending on how you view the,
Do you think like something like someone dating an AI would be possible in the future?
Like robotsmeet.com. AI mingle, like.
I mean, sure.
Like you're just talking to at that point you could just be talking to a computer, like they're asleep, but like their computer's still running, so.
I would definitely go on AImeet.com.
At that point it would
That
just be
sounds
like,
fantastic.
oh, that would be crazy.
But like, what if you could actually just design your perfect partner as an AI? Would anyone ever date again?
I don't know. And not so much about dating, it's just like for sexual pleasure. Like there's gonna be a lot of creeps out there that would totally do something like that. It's awful.
I mean, sex robots already exist, right? I don't know.
But sex AI, that's a whole different ball game. People will never leave their house.
I just think it would be so weird to have a partner who's a robot that you like completely could not tell was a robot, but you buy them.
Yeah.
You program them to what you want. And then at that point, it's like, oh, well, why not have robot children, robot pets?
Yeah, right. And it's like you're kind of playing the god figure there too, because you're controlling everything around you. Like, you know, you can control, you know, your partner or your kids at that point if you want them to be robots or like a pet. It's if you program them the way that you exactly want them to be, I feel like that's gonna be detrimental to human nature, because there's no chase, you know. It's just, oh, I bought you, and then how is that conversation gonna go? Like, oh, I picked you, like I bought you. Oh, I'm lucky.
It does feel kind of like cheating, right?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to work for anything. You just got exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, you don't get along with your partner, you just buy a new one. Just hit the off switch. Like,
reprogram them, reset them.
yeah, that's pretty crazy stuff, actually.
I think that would be so strange, but I have like an instinctual feeling that something like that is definitely gonna happen, and it's gonna be really, really weird.
Oh, for sure. If people are interested in doing something like that, it's gonna happen eventually.
I can't even imagine a future where AI and robots are just so commonplace. There'd be so many things, right? Like, why would you ever go to work again?
Yeah, exactly. Like, where would the job market shift to if it's not in jobs that are going to be taken over by AI? Which, honestly, if they can get an AI to make my order right at McDonald's every time, then I'm all for that. Okay, that's perfectly okay with me.
I mean, I guess I agree, because, you know, there'd be less humans doing dangerous jobs, less human error in jobs, you know, medical procedures or even like factory jobs. And there are already like robots that do those things.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the medical field would definitely be where I would go with AI if I was in charge. If I was Nathan, I would definitely go to I would definitely go to the medical field first, because there are a lot more mistakes in the medical field than people hear about. And if they can create AI that do a perfect job every time, you know, like surgeries and whatnot.
Isn't medical malpractice like the third leading cause of death in the US?
I don't know for sure, but I'll take your word for it, because that sounds pretty right to me.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, you know, something like that could be horrific if it went wrong. Imagine you have a hospital entirely run by AI and somebody lets out a virus. They could cause the greatest, like, terrorist attack ever.
Yeah, that's so true.
There's just so many openings in AI as a whole that humanity as a whole doesn't necessarily have. Like, people have weaknesses, you know, people can be bribed, people can be threatened, but you can't necessarily just auto mind control everyone to suddenly freak out at the same time, you know?
Exactly.
But you could do something like that with AI.
Yes, like my thing is, humans are flawed in general, and when you try to create something that's not flawed, they're gonna outsmart you, especially if they become sentient. You know what I mean? Like
that's very true.
Like we saw in the movie, of course, but in general, that could totally happen.
Even just like one bad human, if there are just AI among us walking around as humans, they set off a bad virus, suddenly these things that are, you know, stronger than you, that don't feel pain, that are smarter than you, are hunting you down, like Terminator.
Exactly, yeah.
It comes back to Terminator.
It always comes back to Terminator.
Hello, it's me from the future, here to let you know that this is where my half of the collab ends. If you'd like to see how it continues and ends, go check out Dom's channel. It's in the description below and also in the iCard. But I hope you had a great time watching, because I had a great time recording. Have a lovely day, and all that jazz.